Hey, welcome back to Taste Kitchen, where we're doing our Whiskey Lab series. And the cool thing is we're getting a chance to taste and try some of the best whiskeys coming from across America. And today we're going to be talking with Jason Macal of Yellow Rose Distillery. So out of Houston, Texas, great to have you on the show, man.
Thank you for having me here, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so Jason, let's get into a little bit about Yellow Rose and kind of its lineage. Where did this come from? All that good stuff.
Absolutely. So, Yellow Rose was the passion project of three close friends and neighbors. They had their typical 9 to 5 kind of jobs, and they wanted to do something different, something on their own. And they couldn't quite figure out what that was exactly. So, it was one night after having many discussions that they came to the conclusion that, hey, let's make whiskey. How hard could it
Okay.
be? They said. Well, they had little to no experience doing anything like this before, so they didn't let that deter them. Many trials and tribulations, experimentations, finally came to our Outlaw Bourbon, first product ever released, and that was in
Okay.
2010. It
That's
was
amazing.
met Yeah, it was met with really good success. One of the largest local liquor store chains here in the state of Texas picked us up. We sold out quite rapidly, a little too fast for our liking because it kind of outpaced our production at that time. And we realized that this is a good problem to have, but we needed to expand our facility out a little bit. So we started
Yeah.
looking for a new location, and we found one that met our needs in 2013, right in the heart of Houston. Moving
Very
into that
cool.
location, and we've been here ever since. And we now have the title of Houston's oldest legal distillery. There hasn't been a
Interesting.
distillery in Houston since Prohibition. So that was
Wow.
a interesting process to go through the city, getting the permitting and the licensing and everything like that. Because they
I
didn't know
like
how
it.
to regulate a distillery. So it was a learning experience for everyone. And yeah, we've been in the same spot. And this is actually our 10-year anniversary this year. So we've learned a lot
Congrats.
along the way. Yeah, and we're going to have a really exciting project coming out here in the next couple months. It's still a little tight-lipped for now, but I'm
Oh
really
boy.
excited about
You're dropping some nuggets in there, man. I like it. That's a great story. The fact that two people came together to make a great whiskey, had no experience, basically probably dove into the books, toured a ton of distilleries, talked with a ton of experts, and then eventually came to an agreement and said, hey, this is how we're going to make it, and this is what we're going to do. That's a cool story because I think as we get more and more just spirit makers out there across the country. We're seeing it in gin, we're seeing it in vodka. Obviously, if you look at
it.
in the state of Texas, obviously the most well-known is Tito's. They're right there out of Austin.
I've
But
heard of
the
them.
the beauty is that it's these are homegrown stories, and I love the fact that Yellow Rose is the same. So great to get started here. Let's talk about our first one, which is going to be our Yellow Rose Distilling Premium American Whiskey. Now, this is a very approachable price for this
Yes.
bottle right here. Let's talk a little bit about this and about this whiskey. Tell me what your thoughts are on this bad boy right here.
Absolutely. So the premium American whiskey, that is a great introduction to the Yellow Rose portfolio as a whole. It is a blended whiskey. It is a blend of 4 different types of whiskey. It
Okay.
has unaged, light, bourbon, and Canadian whiskey in it. One important thing to note with this product is that there is no neutral spirits, no vodkas or
Oh,
gin or anything like that. There are a lot of blended whiskeys out there on the market that do introduce these neutral spirits into their
right.
products. They like to say that they're passing the savings on to you, but we tend to
Mm-hmm.
feel those savings the next day. So this is a true 100% whiskey blend. Very nice, light golden straw color. First things on the nose, you're going to be getting caramel and bananas. It's very, very light, a little sweet smelling, but
Oh, yeah.
there's no harsh notes. There's no ethanol. There's not burning up your nasal cavity or anything like that by any means. And it's a very versatile product. This is a great everyday sipping whiskey. This is for the aficionados and for someone who's looking to break into whiskey for the first time. Uh,
Good
you
entry
can have
point. I
it
like it.
You can have it with sodas, juices, basic cocktails, 2 to 3 ingredient cocktails. It's excellent in like a whiskey sour with an actual egg white. That's how I like to drink mine. Uh,
Interesting. Okay.
and
This is a pretty strong one at 94 points too. I was amazed at the score on this whiskey. So that's a pretty cool issue. I do get that banana. I've never had a banana aroma coming out of a whiskey. I can't say that I've had that nose before. So that in its own right is pretty unique.
absolutely,
I love this. Very light too. Very cool. When you
light in
so
color,
I
but it is still full enough in flavor and lots of great. Or in addition to the aroma, it's just a very full flavor profile all the way across.
Yeah, for sure. Medium finish. I like your little tagline here, the perfect mix of Southern charm and rustic cowboy style. Let's get a little taste of
Absolutely,
this one.
we're still in Houston after all, so.
That's right. Oh, I can see what you mean with a blended whiskey, because there's a few that I do keep in my cupboard, and I like them. This is a really good one, very tasty too. Great palate on this one. Back palate is very fresh, but at the same time, it's got that kind of richness, texture to it.
Yeah, there's almost like a silky creaminess to it,
Yeah, there's something
and
there.
that's really going to be derived from the oil content found in the whiskey. So just pulling out those excellent barrel flavors and everything like that. The blend that we particularly do really highlights and accentuates all the best qualities of each of those different parts of the blend that we use. And everything's just working very harmoniously, very perfect to give you this wonderful expression from start to finish.
Yeah, this could be a sipping whiskey, I think. This would be one you could still put and go neat with it, but I do agree, it'd be a great mixer, a great product for going that direction. When you look at this particular whiskey and its popularity with maybe restaurants and bars, etc., where do you find this one nestles in if you were to compare it in, kind of just the whiskey array of what bars and people might offer? A lot of times, bartenders, when I talk to them about, hey, what whiskeys do you have? Can you talk to me a little about each one? They'll usually have a characteristic that they bring forth in a specific whiskey to try to sell it to you, whether it's a rye whiskey from Whistle Pig or whether it's a Japanese whiskey or something out of Kentucky. What would you say would be the selling point characteristic of this guy right here?
I say it would be that it is a little slightly sweet on the palate, but that is what makes it so approachable. And the heat on it is very, very minimal.
Very
So
low, yeah.
you can enjoy it neat or with a little bit of water, maybe
Yeah.
with some ice. But that's definitely going to be one of the strongest selling points and the strongest differentiators is that it is so approachable and so easy to drink. And you can apply it in many different formats as well. So.
Yeah, very flexible. And I think you're right. It's one of those that it's a great entry point for someone who maybe, like for instance, hey, I've been thinking about trying a new whiskey, and somebody, a good bartender could say, if you're not a whiskey drinker, this would be a great entry point for you to kind of start the process and the experience of getting and understanding how great whiskey is done. Because it's an easy drinkable whiskey, and it's one of those that I love the fact that it's got a great finish to it. The palate is strong, but the nose is amazing. Just the uniqueness of that banana was pretty cool. All right, so we're going to move to our next guy, which is kind of what you guys are known for with your product, and that's the Outlaw Bourbon. So let's talk a little bit about that one.
Absolutely. Outlaw Bourbon is the flagship product for Yellow Rose of our core lineup out of the Premium American Rye and our Outlaw Bourbon. First product that we ever released. This is a 100% Texas yellow corn bourbon. That is it. There is no rye, no malted barley, no wheat. It is 100% Texas corn that we source from the Panhandle. And this is our grain to glass offering. Every step of the process, from the corn to the finished bottle, is all done in Houston. It
Yeah.
is made with a double pot distillation method, very traditional, very hands-on method. It really gives us these big, bold bourbon flavors that can only be achieved from pot distillation, but that's also a reputation that Texas bourbons are being known for. Big,
Yeah.
bold flavors. Now, this is aged in American white oak barrels. We do a grade 4 char on them, one of the highest available chars. And that's what contributes to those nice, wonderful, deep, rich colors. I call that a golden amber color myself, and I absolutely love it. I fall in love with it every time I look at it a little bit longer.
It does have a great color, that's for sure. I love the
And
fact
this
that you guys do hand labeling and bottle numbering for your batches and also your bottle numbers. That's kind of a cool little touch that you put on your labels.
Everything in our facility, Paul, is hands-on. It's all done by hand. We have no computer assistance. We have no automation. This is what would make the distillation cuts. This is what puts the labeling and the bottle caps on.
I
And
like it.
I've done a little bit of all that myself. I started off doing tours, went to production. I was an assistant distiller for about a year and a half or so. And now I'm the national brand ambassador. So I've done a little bit of everything from start to finish. In fact, that bottle you have right there, I may have contributed in more than one way in its production.
I love it. So I'm picking up on the nose, and you kind of give this in your tasting notes. It does have a very good intensity, very rich in the caramel. Definitely, I think the caramel kind of steps forward mostly on the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
That's an amazing aroma on that one for sure.
I like to think it's now taste and smell are all subjective. You know, we all taste and smell things differently. But when I smell it, I get those a little bit of the oak, a little bit of the smoke from the char in the barrels, and
Right.
it's like a dark honey almost wrapped around like a dark cherry kind of essence. It's a little buried in there, but it's definitely there. 92 proof, 46% alcohol. Wonderful aromas. Again, the ethanol burn is minimal at the most. It's very, very you just get all those wonderful barrel essence, and the ethanol doesn't get in the way of that.
Yeah, for sure. So when you started obviously with the Outlaw, kind of got that going. What were some of the contributing factors for you guys looking at going into rye whiskey production? Obviously, with what you're doing with the American whiskey, what were some of the driving points on how you guys, from a brewer and a distiller, are saying, hey, let's kind of go this direction or that direction? Because that's always intriguing to me. Because hey, you're kind of putting it on the line. If you got it right, it's great. But if you get it wrong, it's wasted a lot of time and a lot of money.
Sure. And the main driving factor is we want to be versatile. We want to produce whiskeys in every category that we can and do the best to our ability. That's something that we know that we can do. And we like to show not only that we do produce excellent bourbon, but we can also produce excellent blended whiskeys and rye whiskeys as well.
Yeah. Let's get a little taste of this one.
This is my
Still
favorite
just
part.
kind of, I'm enamored with this nose on this one. It's amazing. Oh, wow. You guys only been doing this for 10 years?
Only 10 years, right? And this outlaw
You're
is
going to be
about
lethal eventually. You're going to be lethal soon.
yeah.
I like that.
This outlaw is about 18 months old as well. It just really goes to show how important the climate is in whiskey producing, and that's one thing that Houston, in particular, Southeast Texas. Even within Texas, we have our own particular biomes. Central Texas is a little more dry, not as humid. North Texas is a little more, it gets a little bit colder than it does here in Houston. And in Houston, it's hot, it's humid 90% of the year. I always like to joke, we have two seasons in Houston. It's summer and summer light, and we're getting right now to the heart of summer. So our barrel,
you're getting down into the dense, the dense part of Texas. If you've never been in Texas in the middle of summer, Houston, it's kind of like Miami where we are, but Houston is even a little bit more humid for some reason. You don't get the tropics there, but you get a really good dose of Texas summer, and Definitely worth it there. All right, so you guys, first of all, the Outlaw is definitely, that's a rock solid product you guys got going there, so I can see where you're going with that. The
Fantastic.
American, I like this. It's a good, I do think it is a great entry whiskey for someone just getting into the business or getting into whiskey tasting, or maybe they're just bringing something on to their menu in their bar or their restaurant and they need a uniqueness. This would be one that I would go for sure. When you look at the consumer, because whiskey has kind of become a thing now. We've had what seems to be an explosion in both whiskey critics, whiskey consumption, but even more importantly is all of these online products. So whether it's Caskers, Reserve Bar, the likes of those companies who are out there really, doing a lot of this mail order type product. Do you think that's one of the contributing factors that's made whiskey such a popular product?
I think ease of access to consumers is definitely going to be a huge factor. I mean,
Yeah.
Amazon, we all love Amazon, right? And what's unique about those platforms as well is that it can really open up the door to new potential whiskeys that you maybe haven't
Right.
considered in the past. And
Yeah.
much like you were saying, there has been a massive explosion of bourbon in the past 10 years. You going down the bourbon aisle in a liquor store now, it can be a little overwhelming. It's like a
It
vodka
can
aisle
be.
now, floor to
Yeah.
ceiling, left to right. I mean, it's very saturated. So having those kind of programs available, and then being able to research online, read a little bit about the distillery on the internet, and see what other people are saying. Those having those kind of things are going to be very hugely important to consumers. Mainly because nothing's more disappointing when you buy a decently priced bottle of whiskey and you bring it home and
Yeah.
it's not the best.
Not that great. I've had that experience because I'm always trying, new whiskeys that I've obviously never had before, and in many cases it's usually coming out of somewhere that's not necessarily Kentucky or a known whiskey region, and it's kind of hit and miss. As a whiskey aficionado, you have to be willing to kind of risk it. Go out there and spend some money on these products, and unless you can get some great tasting notes from guys like yourself or what we're doing here on the show, for sure. Man, I think you guys are killing it over there in Texas with Yellow Rose. Good luck to you, and keep making that. I can't wait to see that in 10 years. This is going to be a very, very dangerous man in 10 years, for sure. Thanks for stopping in on Taste Kitchen today, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me again, Paul. It's great to be here.
All right. Okay, so you guys are probably watching this over on YouTube right now. Make sure and smash the bell, subscribe. It's how you get great content here from Foodable Network. We will continue to do more tasting sessions just like this, virtual, etc. And I'm kind of curious. We've done a few whiskeys, we've done some bourbons, we've also done some wine here in Taste Kitchen. I'd love to hear your feedback. So in the comments, or if you want to send us a note, you can do so just by sending us an email to producer@foodabletv.com. If you want to catch more great content from us, just go over to foodabletv.com, hit the shows tab up there, and you can get to podcasts, a lot of our video series that we do. That's the way you can engage with us. But I'm really interested in what you think. If you've had Yellow Rose, let me know below in the comments. And if you've got a whiskey or a bourbon that you think maybe needs a little love, maybe it needs its time to shine, right here on Taste Kitchen. We'll catch you next time right here on Foodable Network.